It's September 20th, 2021. That's the flag that they fly where I am. I have my umbrella and I have my grandfather's black and white memorial around my neck. So I went to Nucci's school today in Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. I went to PS 31, 1980 something. I first went to Sacred Heart, that was kindergarten, and a Catholic school. And then I went to the public school 1 year, and then they moved me out to Long Island. I went to speak to the teacher today, Destiny, and I went to the front of the school before they let out, and I spoke to the assistant principal. And I asked him, I said, is there like a phone tree or like a directory of some sort of phone system rather than having to call 311 and try to negotiate around the websites, because it just gets me absolutely. Whatever's connected to my IP is just absolutely useless. And so he said, you'd have to speak to the teacher. I'm like, the teacher? He's like, well, if it's regarding your son and services, you have to speak to the teacher. I'm like, right, but wouldn't that be more of like an office and an administration thing? Like they'd know about the city offices and who to call, and they might have a directory? And he's like, speak to the teacher. I'm like, all right. So I waited for the kids to come out. And then I went up and I spoke to the teacher. I asked her. She wasn't sure. She asked a different teacher. And I said, because I went here. And when I went here, if my grandfather wanted to ask something of one of the city people, he asked the school, and there was like a directory, and somebody, she said, and the woman said, she's like, they used to have districts and they used to have it set up differently, she said, and at some point they split it to districts and zones. When they split it into districts and zones, then all of a sudden it became really confusing and it almost impossible to ever get anything answered. And I mean, honestly, the children suffer, the parents and the children suffer for it. So I don't know why New York City was allowed to entangle themselves with Bayside Station. Why was Bayside Station ever incorporated within a Queens County and within a larger city system of people that are up to absolutely no good? I mean, there's a tax shelter system, but it sounds like to me it's like a housing and money laundering scheme for refugees. I am not included in any of that schematic. How do I survive and how do my children survive when it's like a revolving and rotating door of God only knows what countries coming in based on how much they pay to play with the Broadway and Gayle King assholes of this year? I'm just curious. How does one get back to a country that's civilized and honorable? Because I really don't see anything here. It's the United States of America, North America, and I can't even figure out a phone tree system to get myself help or a stipend or any housing, anything, in order to feed my children and clothe my own children. I'm still reliant on Linda and Lou, and they're disgusting, whatever, but they don't have an inheritance. They didn't get a payoff. There was nothing that they received as far as stipend or whatever since they've been here. So, and I know that a lot of the immigrants, as they'll call them, but in Lou and Lynn's generation, opened businesses and got grants and things. They talk about it on some of the talk shows. But I don't understand how and who they applied to in order to receive such things, because they don't tell you that part, while they're just silencing you and purposely civilian, socially engineering you into a dead end. And that's where I've been, and that's where I'm still at. And now on top of that, they're using high energy weaponry against me in my daily walkabouts in order to lower my immunity, like my face, and with the like there's a static electric charge on my cell phone where sometimes my cell phone becomes heavy, but like out of nowhere, it'll just gain weight. And that's due to like electrostatic charge, like displacement. I mean, I don't know how else. I don't have the words because I haven't studied the sciences around here, and I don't even know what section of sciences to study, but I know that electronic displacement and weight distribution and like sudden adding of electronic weight is possible. I just don't know how to speak about it in a manner to a professional, but in my trivial life that I live of nothing important, but I notice a whole lot of stuff that is integrated in an intermural that paints a very specific mural of something's not right. And there's a lot of people involved in it, and I don't know how to help myself at this point. I don't know where to go or who to reach out to, because I see a whole lot of people involved, and I really don't find a whole lot of my kind of people around here to ask or reach out for help. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. And it's September 20th, 2021. So point being, long story short, is there is no phone directory. Like, there used to be a phone book of intercity services that you could reach out to with department heads, chairs, and like real responsibility taking people. Nowadays, there's nothing. There's just a whole lot of useless websites that get you nowhere, and a 311 service that has some person who answers the phone that just wants to rush you off the phone, pretty much, and it's not really there to help you. Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza.